All right, Mimi and Alyssa, thank you for joining me today. I am doing a show about people working at home because so many people are doing that now, and I know that you guys do, but circumstances are a little bit different. So would you introduce yourselves for me? Melissa first.
Okay, my name's Melissa Kirk. I run a company, a company of one called Words to Honey Content Services. So I provide editing and writing and publishing coaching and book agenting and basically helping psychologists and wellness professionals get content out to support their businesses. So I've been working at home for about 3 years. So I'm like not, this is sort of normal for me. My business isn't that affected. So yeah, it's sort of normal days in some ways.
Yeah. Mimi?
And I'm Mimi Heft, and I've been freelancing for 4 years now as Mimi Heft Design. I'm a graphic designer and illustrator, and I also do a lot of stuff, like I'm on the boards of various committees and professional committees and otherwise events producing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm busy, and I'm a musician on top of that.
Cool. Well, I'm so glad you guys could make it today. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, there are lots of guidelines for working at home that many people already know. I'll just kind of say them anyway. It's important to create structure for yourself on a daily basis because otherwise your day just can go anywhere. Some people like to get dressed for work because that's another kind of cue that you in fact are working. You're not just kind of sloughing off at home. Having a particular workspace is a really good idea instead of just working anywhere. I mean, I think that you can give yourself a break and work on the sofa if you feel like it, but again, it helps you kind of focus your attention if you have a particular space and clothes that you wear. And then you need to have agreements with people in your household or even outside your household about whether they can contact you, when they can contact you, when they can interrupt you. Because often people say, oh, you work from home, well, I'll just call you up at 11 o'clock in the morning and we'll chat for a while. No, it doesn't.
Oh, that's always a huge problem. Yeah. I feel bad sometimes having to say, no, leave it.
Right. So let's just start by talking about what your kind of basic work at home stuff is, but then I want to go into how it's different now because I mean, first I would like to help people who have never worked from home and now have to do it, who don't really know all these basics, but things have changed slightly. I think people are maybe even more stressed. They're probably more stressed out. So what is it like to have a work relationship with somebody who's just really distracted about buying groceries?
Yeah.
So, Melissa, you want to start?
Okay, sure. I don't think I'm necessarily the best at compartmentalizing my life, but I am working on it. I do have 2 actual dedicated offices. I have one in my bedroom, which a lot of people say you're not supposed to work out of your bedroom. But for me, our house is pretty small. So I tend to sometimes just, like in the mornings, I get out of bed and that's when I'm the most creative. So then I just go to my computer and then I find that I'm working at my desk at home, or in my bedroom. But then I also have a garage office that I set up so that I could actually be separate and have my own space. So depending on my mood, I'll sometimes work out there, unless it's like rainy and cold, in which case it's really unpleasant out there. But so I'm lucky because I have these 2 options. I do try to dress in normal clothes, but I don't bother to like wear business attire. Like I wear like leggings and skirts and t-shirts. Like, but I do try to get out of my robe at some point,
Yeah. Do you find that it does kind of improve your focus, or what is the benefit to you?
Yeah, I just feel like less of a slob. Because like when I'm like, I try to, like get out of the pajamas. There are days when I never get out of the pajamas, but I try to.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of time I'll spend days on end without wearing shoes. Like I don't feel the need to wear shoes around the house.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
I guess and then I don't. A lot of people I've talked to who do freelancing like try to have set hours, and so I like to let myself just sort of naturally wake up and work when it feels right. So I don't necessarily feel like if I'm not working by 9, I start going, oh, okay, I probably should start working. But like sometimes I'll wake up at 6:30 because I'm just awake and I'll just start thinking about work or doing work. Or sometimes I'll just be like, oh, I really want to do this one other thing, so I'll start working at 11. I don't really have a set. And I've gotten past the idea that one has to work 9 to 5, or one is not actually working. So
yeah.
yeah.
Although I do think maybe some work from home people are kind of doing that because they still are collaborating in a group on video. So
oh, for sure. Oh yeah. So so right. So my availability. So because I work with clients, so I don't work with an office team or so a set team. So I do have set hours that I'm available for clients, like if they want to have a call or something. But I don't necessarily feel like I need to be on the computer doing work right at 9. But my kind of business, I don't have other people on the team remotely that I need to be available for. It's a little bit different than some remote workers.
Yeah, actually, I think we're going to come back to that later. How do you manage your time given that you don't have another meeting and then a talk with your boss and then a talk with your coach to structure your day? But Mimi, I wanted to hear from you about what your kind of routine is or what works for you.
Yeah. My friend Antonio gave me a wonderful piece of advice when I first started freelancing, which was pants on by noon. Your day is going to be so different if you actually get up and get dressed.
Does a skirt count?
Yeah, skirt counts. Yeah. Just get out of the Hello Kitty jammies and into some actual clothing. It really does a wonderful thing for your headspace and your productivity, your energy level. The other thing that I do is I used to be a night owl. In fact, I naturally still am. But when you go to bed, let's say you have an 8-hour chunk of time that you sleep. If you go to bed after midnight, that same 8 hours is not nearly as productive as if you go to bed before midnight, those same hours. You'll actually sleep better if you go to bed before midnight.
That's true of everything.
So this is pretty much true. It's fairly universal. And I mean, we all have our circadian clocks pushing us one way or another, but bringing myself back to go to bed by no later than midnight, as opposed to 2:30, 3 in the morning, my days have been uniquely different. It was surprising how quickly I was able to adjust, and the dramatic difference was getting up at about 8 or 8:30, at least waking up by 8 or 8:30. Makes my day feel so much more fuller and more available to me. And while I like nighttime work too because it's quiet, I found ways to create that quiet during the daytime. Like, for instance, if I'm finding it's just too distracting with all the texts and everything, just turn off the phone and put it in the other room. Don't even have it next to you on silent. Just get it out of there. And that makes a huge difference. And I'm not always good about following my own schedule. One of my problems actually is I'll start checking email from bed. And that's terrible. Get out of bed. Really, because you'll find you're checking email and then you start being distracted by, oh, look, this other thing just sent me a notification. And soon all of a sudden it's like 2 hours later. So it's really best just to get out of bed, get dressed. Eat something nice.
Well, I don't think anybody ever sticks to, I will say this for myself, I don't stick to my own rules either, but I know what they are and I can get to them. That is far more valuable than just doing it every single day. Being able to
I think having a framework is always good, no matter for any project. And so definitely.
Something you were talking about earlier was the idea of setting yourself up a space to work in. And that was definitely a huge help. We created a spot behind me here in the living room where I have my desk and all that stuff. But I also find it helps to not just lock yourself into that space, to go out, sit on the front porch, or go to the backyard, or go sit on the couch, or just something just to kind of shift yourself around a bit. Part of that's just for ergonomics. You don't want to be just constantly doing this. And also just to kind of freshen your head.
I think everybody should do that. But at home, you've got maybe more options of places to sit. It's not just in your one little cubicle or wherever you are at work.
I mean, it depends on the kind of work you're doing. Like a friend of mine who is an online instructor really can't leave his little what do you call it, like command center or whatever. He literally has seven monitors. Like it's So, like, I feel really lucky because I just have a laptop. I can move it wherever I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have another screen. Like, if I need to work on 2 documents at once, I can do that. But if I don't have to, I can just move. And I just am happier outside. So a lot of times if it's nice out, I'll go outside and work.
Yes, that is always a delightful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, not today.
Yeah.
There's also the interruption of the cat.
Oh yeah.
And we have a particularly vocal cat. And I've created a spot, because everyone's talking about how the cat's always stepping on the keyboards. And I've created a spot on top of the desk where there's a little soft place for the cat to and sleep there. And so that way we can be together.
Yeah.
Off the keyboard? That's great. Sometimes they just gravitate to the keyboard anyway.
Yeah, it's warm. This guy couldn't even fit on a keyboard. Like, he's so giant. He would take up 2 keyboards if he could. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I'm just reading from my notes here one thing that a lot of people who work from home, they're used to being able to go out to coffee shops to work, which they cannot do now. So that's kind of challenging. And even just taking any kind of break, if you're not supposed to go outside, how do you do that? I've seen pictures online of people doing yoga in their little studio apartment kitchens.
Yeah.
Out as far as they can. But it sounds like you're finding places just around outside in the yard or around the house to take breaks. So that's true.
There's also online stuff too. Like you're saying, like a friend of mine has daily, including Saturdays and Sunday, daily meditation time. And we can all tune in on their Zoom and they'll do a guided meditation for about, I think, half an hour maybe at most. So that's one way to do it. And it's live, it's a Zoom. And you can choose to be seen on that, or you can just have it be a black box.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would bet there's probably a lot of that. There's probably a lot of that already now that I don't even know about. That are just events you can go to.
And even before all of this weirdness happened, because I'm in a bunch of online groups for like freelancers and remote workers, and a couple of people have, because like sometimes the going out to cafes or having like a work group where you go out with your friends and you all sit together and work is one way that I know you do that sometimes, like, and a way to get accountability around doing the work.
Yeah.
So there's like been a couple of people I know who started doing that on Zoom.
Yeah.
Like having Zoom, like, what do you call it? Work party. That's not right.
Well, co-working. My friends, we call it admin night.
Yeah. So that's one, so like this one I'm thinking of, I don't know if it's every day, maybe every other day or something. Starts at like 9 and it goes for till noon or something. And then anybody who wants to can just like join. And the whole deal is everybody's working. Like it's on Zoom. So just a way to get that experience of co-working without the infection aspect.
Yeah, just feeling like there's something about having the energy of other people around you who are also focusing on their work. I really like that. It helps me be more productive.
Yeah.
So you get at least some of that through doing it through a Zoom conference.
Yeah. Another kind of a lighter version of that is bookending that I just talked about with somebody, where you talk to somebody and you say, okay, now I'm going to spend an hour doing such and such. And they say what they're going to do. And then afterwards you check in again.
Right.
Be in real time with them. Like depending on whether you're out in your gardening, you're really not going to be on Zoom the whole time. So.
Right.
So you're not.
That's true. I've had that. I've worked with consultants before, or coaches for my own business, where that's one of the things we did was, okay, here's the goal. Now in an hour, we're gonna come back and we're gonna check in. Like this is this, and then I got so much done when we did that.
Plus the other thing about this more intentional co-working space, as opposed to just a bunch of people who happen to be in the room together, is you also can check in with each other a little bit now and then, just this thing. It's like when we were doing it in real life, in person, it was a friend of mine would lean over and go, so Mimi, how's Facebook helping you reach that goal?
Right.
So now and then it's kind of good. It's just to sort of say, so how's everybody doing? Even though, just, maybe half an hour or so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. I had not thought about that. So have anything, well, what, is there something that's different? I mean, you guys kind of both told me
Yeah.
that you're kind of used to this and it's not that, it's kind of business as usual, but there probably have been some changes for you.
Oh, I know. Especially that first week,
Mm.
I had a really hard time. I mean, I already have focus problems, but I could not focus on anything because I was so stressed and I was so worried.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, I wanted to know the information. So I'm like, and then of course, no, because this is what I do. I went on Facebook and started this virtual group where we do fun things. So then I was like using that as a stress relief, like a way to be creative around this stress and anxiety. So
Mhm.
that, of course, that took up, my excuses. Well, I was doing good work, but I wasn't focused. I wasn't able to focus on my actual work for at least that
Ah.
whole. So now I'm starting to get back on track with being able to actually do my job and do the work. So, but I think that first week it was just like stressful and we didn't
Mhm.
know what was happening and I was worried and so that was definitely hard.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about you?
Oh, in some ways, nothing's changed because it's what I've been doing for 4 years. But
Mhm.
I'm finding I am more deliberate about my choices.
Mm.
And I'm not quite sure why, other than there's this focus now on, oh my gosh, working from home. Everybody has that energy now, working from home, and how are we supposed to do it? So I guess it's making me reflect on some of what I'm doing. And one of the things, it doesn't have to do with work per se, but I'm finding I am eating much more healthily.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Part of the homesteading of baking my own bread and making
Uh-huh.
my own ricotta and all, which I kind of do anyways. But I find myself cooking actual proper meals during the middle of the day for lunch and
Hmm.
preparing well for that.
Huh.
And it's giving me a lot more energy and it certainly feels better, especially
Yeah.
since I'm not getting out and about as much.
Yeah.
Well, I grow food out in the garden. So
Oh my
we,
gosh,
we
we're so
also have
lucky.
like, we don't have to go to the grocery store. I mean, you have to like greens, but because that's all but we don't have to go to the grocery store for produce as much. So that's part of what's kind of fun is
Yeah.
realizing, oh, look, I did a thing that actually is helpful in these times. So,
Melissa will save the world.
yeah, right.
Yay. But your clients
Yeah.
are not also kind of distracted and like maybe they've got kids running around. I mean, that there's been not really been interruption on that side.
Yeah, so like yesterday I just signed, well, she's an old client, but we signed a new contract and she's in New Zealand
Mm.
and she's immunocompromised and she's living out of her van.
Wow.
And I think she has a place to go, a house, but so they just had lockdown happen. And so she's like, I can't sign the contract right now because I'm running around getting supplies. And then I'm going to go to this, she called it her safe house, like a place to go to be safe. So of course I'm going to say, well, don't worry about me. Like you go save yourself and then we'll work that out.
Yeah.
And I have another client who I haven't heard from. And I don't know if it's because something's wrong or if it's just stress and he's got a family. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to not be very pushy about
Mm-hmm.
that because I know that everybody's just freaking out right now. But I'm getting clients because I work with writers. So a lot of people have a lot more time to work on their writing. So I'm actually getting, like, I just got a new client yesterday. So it's like, okay, but it's, you can tell people are just more distracted or,
Mm-hmm.
and like wondering about the industry, like in terms of like the publishing industry, how that's being affected and are they going to still be working the same way as they used to? And so there's a lot of uncertainty around
Yeah.
work, but yeah, so it's like both things are happening. There is a lot of more distraction and stress, and also people are still doing the work that I help them with. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky in that way.
I've had some challenges with this in the fact that because of how the economic situation is hitting everybody, I had a lot of projects get canceled or
Mhm.
suspended, and
Mm.
which of course then makes me rather nervous about things.
Yeah.
So I've been focusing on those that are there and reaching out to some people. One of the things I'm doing though is even with the canceled projects, I'm still checking in now and then with the clients, not
Yeah.
to say, hey, you got any work? Hey, you got any work? But more like, how are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be so appreciated.
Yeah.
I know I appreciate it when people are doing it with me too. And
Yeah.
it's part of the larger urge to feel connected with people that we're all feeling. And I'm hearing from people I haven't heard in ages.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. And getting to see people via Zoom or Hangout or whatever.
Yeah.
That are on the other side of the planet. And it's just, and my clients are part of that too. I think it's a way you can do that in a way that's still professional.
And to be a cynical marketing person, that's also excellent marketing.
Oh, thank you.
So, because when everything, whatever happens, knowing, I think, especially like clients, like the kind of clients we work with, they really appreciate connection. They're individuals. So when maybe they get their money again or something, they'll think of you because they'll think, oh, this person actually cares about me, not just about making money for me. So I think it's a really good tip for it's we don't need to stop our businesses right now. Things are going to shift, but we can still connect and create community around what we offer.
Yeah.
And especially in a time when everybody's just like feeling so disconnected. So we can actually create better relationships with clients, I think, now if we do it right. Yeah.
And that's good to notice that, it's not just the client doing this thing to you by taking your project away, but your client doesn't have a project either because it's gone.
Right.
So they're also suffering. Yeah.
Yeah. We're all in this together.
Yes.
So.
And it helps the fact that Melissa and I have this experience from before COVID. We're really good resources for people.
Yes.
So I know I'm getting a lot of people going, how are you doing this? And it feels good to be able to help people find their footing.
So
them being able to start thriving through this.
Yeah. I would love if you just want to share some of that stuff with my listeners. What are people asking you and what are you telling them?
A lot of it's time management. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And I totally feel it.
Yeah.
I totally feel it because I had been working in an office for 20 years before 4 years ago. And that was the first thing that went out the door for a while, that I had to figure out how to rebuild, because even though you're working with people online and all, you're connected in some way, you're not having that immediacy of accountability and time passing and all. It's a very different headspace. And so to create that again for yourself, it takes a while. It takes time to build that, to figure out, well, how do I reprioritize things? Where are the important things to be focusing on?
Yeah.
So it was a struggle.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah. Because I had also been working in office jobs for, it's like 16 years at the time that I lost my job, my office job, my 9 to 5, and it took me at least. So then I had to get over the trauma of that. But once I started realizing I was going to do my own business, it took me 6 months or something before I, even just because I think working the 9 to 5, you have this whole, you wake up at a certain time and then you do your showering and you do your breakfast and then you leave and you go on the commute. And then adjusting to the fact that wasn't true anymore took months for me, because it was just, I was so used to it. So I think if people are struggling with that, it's normal to have that transition process. So I would just not worry about it. Just be kind to yourself, because it's just really different, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are being hard on themselves right now, and so that's part of what I'm telling people. It's like, it's okay. The other thing is, I'm getting a lot of people coming to me needing, because they're facing a lot of depression and anxiety. Some of the anxiety is due to financial, and the depression due to being cut off, but also just the idea that they don't know how things are going to be later. And as a freelancer, I'm used to not knowing how things are going to be later.
Yeah, that's true.
We have our ebbs and flows. It just is, no matter how successful we are. And being able to have somebody else to talk to about that. And I will say, okay, call me at 5 o'clock tonight and we'll talk. We'll Zoom or a phone call or just a text even, although I'd rather do it more immediate voice. just
Mhm.
to just check in on them and help them figure out how to navigate stuff that
Yeah.
to us is normal, really.
Yes. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. The
There's definitely
uncertainty part is challenging.
Mhm. Yeah.
what's that?
And actually, to be honest, I like that. I almost like that more than my work
Yeah.
doing, is that being there for people and nurturing and calming and helping people find, well, where is their strength in this? There's
Mm.
this whole swirling thing going on, but where's that place that you can go to that is where you're going to be able to shine and create calm and
Wow.
actually bring. And I've thought about that.
Yeah. We need more of that. Yeah.
We should talk.
We should have a call-in show. So,
Ooh. Oh my God, it'll be internet sensations.
yeah. Influencers, I think.
Yeah.
I like being a sensation better.
But I do like what I was saying is that the uncertainty part is always, even for people who've been freelancing or self-employed for years, is always a struggle. So that part, like if people are feeling that, it's just really normal. And it's like something you get used to. Like you get used to being able to solve problems. Like when I'm starting to worry about, oh my God, I don't have enough clients, I sit down and I solve that problem. Well, what am I going to do for marketing now? Like, how am I going to reach out to people? So there's always, it's always solvable, or almost always, I think. So
Yeah.
it definitely helps you. It gets your mindset into problem solving mode a lot.
Yeah. Because there's nobody else around to solve the problems for you.
Right. Exactly. Which I prefer personally. I like my problem solving better than most people.
On the other hand, also try reaching out
Yeah.
and seeing who else can say, oh, you know what, actually, I'm really good at that thing
Right.
that you're struggling with, and
Yes.
see if you can trade off on some things.
Yeah. That's really interesting to add this emotional component to time management, because I don't usually think of it that way, but things are different now.
Mhm.
But I was also
Yeah.
just thinking more of kind of the nuts and bolts of time management. If you're not now in an office where there's a structure and you see these people working, you know, they're, okay, those guys are on my project and I can see, oh, now they're going to go over there and work. If there's just more, you're being held in this container where the work is just happening. When you're at home, the priorities just kind of start to shift around. What is the most important thing to do right now? I'm not really sure. So.
Well, for me, because I had actually had a couple of coaches myself, especially when I was starting out. So one of the things that I do is, like Mondays are my day that I build my business. Mondays I don't do client work, and when in theory, I would work on my website, or I would work on some marketing stuff. You know, write the ebook I'm finishing up, like all that stuff, and then I have my hours during the rest of the week where I'm available to do client work. If I don't have a lot of client work, Fridays are my day that I do content for my own business, like videos or whatever. So I've found that can be helpful to compartmentalize tasks that I know I need to do business building, but if I'm spending every day thinking about that, then I'm just going to go crazy. So Mondays are the day I think about that. And then on the rest of the weeks, I know what projects I'm working on and when I need to have a deadline. So if my clients don't have one, I give myself one. Because I have to have, like, I'm going to get this done by Thursday at 5 or whatever, because otherwise I'll just fart around for hours and days. And so
deadlines are magic. I highly recommend them. Yeah.
And as far as working with teams, that's not changing just because you're all in different places. You still have your weekly or tri-weekly check-ins with your managers and with your departments. And as a manager, you're still helping people work with those daily things like time management and project prioritization. So definitely be in touch with your people and do that. Have regular check-ins.
Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking
just as
about
you would anyway.
Yeah.
I was coaching somebody last year who he was like an outside consultant, but he was a permanent guy at this company. And he had several projects that he was bringing to the company. Had to do a lot with team building stuff. But he didn't have set hours. He didn't have an office there. I think there was a place for him to go when he did show up, but he was really very peripheral, and he's a very people-oriented person. So he was finding that some of his projects were just kind of languishing because like nobody was asking him about them. So I told him, you should build a virtual team. And the trick with that was that, because he had like department people who were his key people who he checked in with saying, okay, here's what we're going to do this in May, and it's going to look like this. I told him, look, just say Friday morning, Marcia, I'm going to talk to you about the such and such, and then just do that. She doesn't even have to know that she's on his team. Only he has to know. He has decided that he's going to call her and tell her this, right? There's no responsibility on her end, but she's going to be there to listen, and she'll be happy to hear it. Yeah. So I thought that was a cool idea. So you can make a team of people that don't even know they're on your team, but you're going to report to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have to work with our own stuff around like what motivates us, what gets us creative or productive, because everybody's different, but we're all going to have to sort of like what we should always like listen to other people's advice and tips and then figure out what works for us. So but like for that guy, that might be the perfect thing, is to have somebody that he knows he's going to have to do this action. Yes. And then that gets him just much more engaged in the work.
Yeah, because the deadline on the calendar just not working.
It's easy for it to go away. It's true.
Yeah. You need to have other people around for it to really work, to talk.
Was that your ding?
That was my ding. Yeah, some kind of reminder.
That's
very good. Look at it.
Sounded like Tibetan thing. Yeah.
Meditate now.
We could, take a little break anytime you
go. Yeah, right.
So have you been giving advice to people, Melissa? Have people been asking you like, or what would you tell people if they did?
I mean, I guess
go see Mimi. No.
Yeah, right. I don't really think I have actually. Like I guess I haven't been. It's interesting because I am on a bunch of social media groups where we were like before this happened. There was a lot of traffic on it, and it seems to have stopped or slowed down. I don't know why.
I noticed that.
It seems like there's not as many questions, which is weird because you think there'd be more. Because I used to do a lot of advice in that way, like online stuff. But one of the things I'm doing is I'm helping people because I'm an editor and a content person. I've been actually helping my friends with that. So like one person who is looking for work wanted me to look at his resume, and like a person who's writing an article, I said I would help her edit it for free because it's just like I feel like that's what I can offer in terms of helping my community, my friends. So I've been doing that, offering those services.
The resume thing, from the other side of that, on the design side of that, I've been helping friends because so many people I know are suddenly laid off, and not all is temporary. And so I've been helping people get their resumes pretty.
Yeah, right.
So,
nice.
Because I'm more doing the content.
Which is more critical.
Yeah, but I think it's all important these days, especially. So I think people need to be really creative and strategic and innovative now. I mean, even before this happened, around finding work, it's just not so much like you send a resume and then you get an interview and then you get a job. Like it's sort of not that much like that anymore. So things are shifting a lot for sure. I think we're going to see a lot more remote work, and even after if this blows over or whatever happens, we're going to be seeing a lot more remote work just being normal.
Why do you think that is?
But I think people are, first of all, industries are just going to be, whole industries are going to be so damaged. I think people are going to start to realize, or managers are going to start to realize that you don't need all that overhead necessarily. Like so, even before this happened, companies were doing that. And I've actually done a lot of research. I wrote a book on remote work. It never got published anywhere, but and it's actually shown that people who work remotely can be more productive And so, and there's just so many tools. So I think we're going to be seeing more of that just because it's just, and it's less overhead for the companies.
Right.
So I would say learn skills in remote work because I think it's going to be really important.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's make
And on
it
the other
now.
side,
I think
So-
about people who are working remotely now, and their bosses are going to discover that they are not really doing anything now that they're seeing them on the screen, and there's people are paying more attention. Like if you're in an office, big office, what does Joe do? I don't really know. He's been there for 5 years with a red stapler on his desk, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's definitely going to shift things because I think there's been this whole idea that people who work from home are just not actually doing any work. So now there's been starting to be more ways to have accountability around one's work remotely, and so that's going to keep going. And then so I just imagine that it's going to be more common.
Mm-hmm.
there's going to have to be on the other side of that, though, enough trust.
Yeah, that's the
Managers need to trust their staff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it really goes both ways that way.
Mm.
So the accountability isn't just about, well, maybe we can put this thing on everyone's computers that's going to tell us when they're logged in and when they're logged out. Or none of that is really necessary. In fact, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being able to kind of trust that this is going to work, trust that the employees who you had been trusting are going to be able to continue doing what they're doing as well as they're doing.
Right.
I hope that's true. I don't have a lot of faith sometimes in management, just from because of my own experience with it. But hopefully, that would be an evolution. Is that like, hey, we can actually let people work at their own pace, and we don't have to constantly be checking on how many keystrokes they do or something ridiculous. Like it's actually, as long as you do the work,
as long as you're getting the thing
why
done.
do you need to be this?
On the other hand, I've been on both sides of the management and employee thing, and or management staff. I have had to deal with people I've been supervising not pulling their weight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's challenging enough doing that when we're all in the same building, and doing that remotely, I imagine it's going to be more of a struggle. So how do you really gauge how well an employee is doing? And that might have to change what the tools are that management uses for things like evaluation and tracking metrics.
Well, I'm sure it's pretty simple to just count up keystrokes. You can have, that kind of happens automatically. It's more work for the manager to have to pay attention. So is the quality of this work good? So it's kind of an easy out to be paying attention whether they're logged in or not.
Keystrokes don't equal productivity.
They don't.
You just put that on the
right.
Yeah. So it is true. I think obviously there needs to be a balance. Like I am my own manager. I'm kind of a lazy manager, but I can definitely see the challenges for managing a remote team. Yeah, I can't really speak to that part, but
right. But that's a good topic to talk about for people who work at home. What is it like to be your own manager? Because a lot of people have never thought about doing that.
Yeah.
How would you characterize that?
Yeah. Well, but I guess what we're talking about in this interview, there's two types of remote workers. There's people who work, like we said, there's people who still work for their company, and there's people who are doing what I'm doing, which I have my own business. So I don't know if your listeners and viewers, what category most of them are going to be in. What happened with me is I lost my job and I decided not to go back to a job. That's just a choice I made. And it's been challenging because you do have to be more, and I'm not really that disciplined, but I do have a really strong sense of integrity in terms of doing what I say I'm going to do. So I think that's helped me. So I'll say to my client, I'm going to have this work done by this time. And maybe even if they don't care, I still feel like that's what I do. I have to do what I say I'm going to do, because otherwise I feel terrible about myself. So it's like, I don't know if that's necessarily the technique I would
it does make sense to me in the sense that
guilt.
What is your sense of professional self?
Yeah.
And both as a freelancer or somebody working remote and as a manager, how do you define that?
Mhm.
What's that look like? And how do you uphold that?
Mhm. Yeah. What
And
other
I
more
think
nuts
there's going to be a lot. Oh, I'm sorry, I was going to say, I think there's going to be a lot more of the sort of therapist side of, or psychologist side of management than there has been. If we go into further remote work like that.
Like how to effectively manage people. Well, I mean, that should be a thing that managers know anyway.
Yeah.
But I can see where it would be more challenging.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's going to be
Distance.
more creative ways of figuring out how to make that connection and figuring out how to help people find that kernel and hold on to it, because it feels all very amorphous. Even as a freelancer, a lot of times it'll feel really amorphous. And so helping people say, where's the structure? Where are my levels and of availability and of energy and just putting that all together. It's a bit of a puzzle.
I did work. Well, I did have a kind of it was a client who was another business, and we would have regular team check-ins on Monday mornings. We were all over the place. So for me, it was Monday morning. And so we would have like an hour, basically a Zoom meeting where we just talked about what we were doing. And then we like checked in personally how were things going. So I thought that was a really good way to have team cohesion. And that was like years and years ago. So that was one option for managers to do that.
Yeah.
It worked for me in terms of feeling like engaged with what we were doing. If we hadn't had that, it would have felt just much more like, what am I even doing here? I don't know. So that would be one recommendation. For managers and teams.
Yeah. So really add in the personal touch more.
Yeah, and just regular face-to-face meetings, but where they're like, because in workplaces, hopefully, teams do have some personal aspect of it. Like you're waiting for a meeting to start and you're talking about your kids or your dog or whatever. And I think that's an important way to connect with one's team. So I think we can still do that.
Yeah, you can have things like the meeting's going to start at 9:00, but I'll set up the Zoom at 8:30 so people can kind of wander in and hang out.
Yeah.
I have to say too, the very best manager I ever had, who I model my own style off of. I'm out here in San Francisco at the time, and she's in Indianapolis, and I felt more connected to her than any other manager ever. There really is a way to do this that makes it work.
Yeah. Did you ever meet her in person?
Yeah, every once in a while she'd be flown out here. Part of it was just her personality. And she's just a really engaging person and interesting and interested in people as people. And part of it was the regular check-ins, and she had a way of, it wasn't a hierarchy, I'm the manager and you're not the manager thing. It was, I'm the one that has my fingers on more things, and you have all this information for me to help me do what I do better, and I have the stuff to help you do what you do better. And it was very much a collaboration. And that really helped a lot. I felt much more connected to her, with her than others because of that too. We were very much a team.
Cool.
Which I think is important. For any manager, but especially if you're not in the same location.
And hangouts. We did hangouts a lot.
Well, we should probably wrap up a bit. Is there any other final bits that you want to, pearls of wisdom about working from home? In this new situation particularly.
I think one thing I struggle with is the social media aspect. And the funny thing is I do a lot of my work on social media. So it's really easy to get distracted because I get clients from there, but I also have my friends on. So I'm like, so I think that's part of the discipline is like figure out what I do is I actually have a calendar and I have tasks each day. This is what I want to get done today. And because you know how fun it is to cross things off.
Yes.
So that's a super easy way to, figure out your goals for the day and get them done. For me anyway, is to write a list.
Mm-hmm.
And not too long of a list, because then you get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Like maybe the three or four most important things or something.
Yes.
And then give yourself you have the right to take breaks. Like it's okay to take an hour and go, like for me, I'm going to go do some yard work because it's beautiful out and it makes me happy. So then I can come back. Like you can take care of your own psyche. It's okay. Like you don't have to be stuck to the computer from 9 to 5 just because that's how it used to be, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's.
Or let those 3 tasks take up the entire day until 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Or, but whatever because some people like that. Like they like to just kind of work, and that's like whatever works for you. But in terms of just staying productive, that just like figure out your system that works for you that makes you feel. And like for me at 3 o'clock, my brain just shuts down. I cannot be creative. I just do not want to work anymore. So that's just how I am. But other people might be like, 3 is when I get super energized, you know? So
yes,
I would just say it's okay to like see what works for you. And, you know, obviously what works for your team, obviously, but it's okay to sort of be creative around how you accomplish your goals. And just being nice to yourself. That's my other advice.
Yes, I like that one. Thanks.
Everybody's struggling and stressed, so.
You know, it's not about just prioritizing your work. It's about also prioritizing your pleasures.
Yeah.
And allowing yourself that without it getting out of hand, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Especially when we're also stressed and worried. Like we don't, you know, it's okay to just sit back and go, I'm going to have some tea and watch an episode of whatever, just because I'm feeling stressed and I'm still on track. I'm not going to not do what I need to do, but I can take some time for myself.
And that's just a good time management point in general. You know, if you try to focus past a certain amount, you're just kind of spinning your wheels after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Just got to get up and take a break.
If I try to do certain types of work after 3, it's just, there's no point. I can't, my brain is creatived out, but I'm really creative in the mornings. Yeah. So I do my creative stuff in the mornings and like sort of businessy, dumb things after 3.
That's a really good way to put it, to look at yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times in office environments, you're expected to be all those things all day long.
Yeah, right.
And to really, I think what a lot of people are going to be finding about themselves is they're going to learn so much about themselves. And really discover things, discover exciting things about themselves. Like, wow, I have these amazing bursts between 10 and 1 or something. I'm really good at, like I say, as I'm finding myself really good at helping guide people. That's something that's really starting to come out now because it's something I think I'm going to follow through on later on after it's down. So there are ways to get the stuff done that you need to get done, but also allow the serendipity.
So don't be afraid of uncertainty and change.
No, it's exciting.
Or be afraid of them, but still do stuff. Like fear is just, fear is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But you can work through it and not let it stop you from doing things. That's one of the things I've learned actually from this whole, or just from being a freelancer in the first place, is that I can do stuff even if I don't want to, or I'm afraid, or I don't know how to, or something.
Yes.
You know, there's always resources, there's people, there's books, there's YouTube videos. So.
Right. And you learn how to identify and acknowledge your fears. And you don't want to just say, oh, I'm just not going to worry about that. That's not going to help you at all. It'll come back up to bite you. But if you can figure out how to acknowledge and identify your fears, address what you can with them, and then find some place to put it so you can then keep moving forward.
Yeah.
I think the more you're able to do that, the better prepared you are for when those fears, should they could become reality. And it's okay to talk about them with people you trust. So do that. Don't keep it all inside yourself.
Yeah. Great. All right. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to end up on that uplifting note. That's fantastic.
Yes.
I was not expecting that at all.
Well, thanks
All
so
right.
much for having me.